My name is Lysandra Vera Solin. I am 38 years old. Last Tuesday at 7:03 p.m., I was standing in my kitchen, stirring pasta in a pot of boiling water. The garlic I had chopped was sizzling and smelled very strong. I was making the pasta just the way I like it, al dente with garlic and olive oil. I had the kitchen lights on, the music low in the background, and a calm evening planned. Then Kalen, my boyfriend, put his phone down on the counter like it might bite him. He didn't look at me at first. He just said, "I'm moving out tonight. Don't contact me again." I froze for a moment. The garlic hissed in the pan. Steam curled into the air. The clock on the oven blinked 7:03 like it was watching me, like it was taking notes of everything happening. Kalen still didn't look at me. He stared at an empty part of the kitchen, the kind of stare people give to an exit they plan to use. "Okay," I said. My voice was calm. He finally glanced at me, a flicker of surprise on his face, quickly followed by annoyance. "You're not upset?" he asked, his voice a little higher than usual. "I'm moving out," I answered, nodding toward the soft-sided duffel bag he had half-packed and placed beside the kitchen island. "What would you like me to do? Block the doorway?" I asked, trying to keep my tone even. "I need space, Esorion." "I'm not happy," he said. "Clearly," I said, tasting the word as it left my mouth. It seemed to match the moment perfectly. The air felt heavy, like the room had shrunk a little. "I'll get my main things later," he added, almost like he had practiced the sentence. "Don't contact me. I'll contact you when I'm ready to talk about the rest." By the rest, he meant all the other things he left behind. Maybe he had already written the next chapter of his life in his head. A chapter that didn't include me. Fine, I thought. He grabbed the duffel bag and his keys, the ring I had bought him when we moved in together, and walked out the door. He didn't look back. The door clicked softly, a sound so small it shouldn't have mattered, but it felt like it had changed everything. The pasta boiled over. I turned off the stove and cleaned the mess slowly, with the kind of care you give to a small ritual. Then I washed my hands and sat down at the kitchen table with my laptop. I didn't feel angry. I felt clarity. Kalen wanted out. My turn. First, I canceled the MX Platinum supplementary card, the card he loved because it paid for fancy things like rooftop networking events and creative inspiration. Next, I canceled his Visa card, which was also supplementary. Third, I closed the automatic monthly transfer I had been sending to his personal account, something we called a bridge, that helped him while he built his business between jobs. The bridge was gone. Fourth, I changed the phone plan. The line he used stayed active, but I disabled international roaming and the travel pass. I didn't want him to be completely cut off. I wasn't cruel. The car insurance had already been paid for the quarter. I would handle any future payments when the mail reminded me. Finally, I sent a crisp email to myself titled, Kalen Timorian. I started a log of everything that happened. 7:03 p.m., I was told, "I'm moving out tonight." 7:05 p.m., I said, "Okay." 7:08 p.m., the door closed. 7:17 p.m., credit cards canceled. I believe that keeping track of everything is a kindness to the future. I ate burnt pasta that night. It tasted like a lesson, a warning, a story all at once. I slept more soundly than I expected. 3 days passed quietly. No phone calls. No texts. No social media posts about peace or choosing happiness. I worked. I took 2 bags of his clutter and put them in the guest room, then closed the door. I watched my shows on the big TV by myself, without commentary about how all the fancy dramas are just vibes. I fell in love with the silence slowly, then all at once, like watching the sunset without needing anyone beside me. At 9:02 p.m. on the third day, the knocking started. Thump, thump, thump. It was insistent. I looked through the peephole. Kalen was there. No designer jacket. No neat hoodie. Hair messy, hands empty, no duffel bag. He had run out of energy carrying anything. I opened the door just enough for the chain to keep me safe. "Esorion," he said, out of breath, like he had run up a very steep hill and found a cliff at the top. "Kalen," I said calmly, like a neighbor asking to borrow sugar. "My card is declined," he blurted out. "I canceled it," I said. "You what? Why?" His voice rose, a mix of shock and anger. "It was my card. You were just a supplementary holder. And you asked me not to contact you. That counts as not being part of my household," I said clearly. "I had dinner with Zephyra," he said, and the words fell like stones in a quiet pond. "Embarrassing for you?" I asked. "Yes," he admitted quickly, like it embarrassed him even to say it. "My visa isn't working either. And the transfer I sent didn't arrive, he said, sharpening his voice. Correct. That money was a gift while we were together. You ended the relationship. You ended the arrangement, I said. A moment of vulnerability flashed Adraxir his face. Grief, maybe, or the sudden regret after acting on impulse. Then resolve hardened. Habit and anger settled there, like a heavy coat. You can't just cut me off. We have obligations, he said. I'm not touching anything that belongs to you. Your car is in your name. Your personal account is yours. The house is mine. I bought it before we met. The credit cards were privileges. They ended when the relationship ended, I said calmly with no heat in my voice. You're being awful, he said. I need time to get on my feet. You have time. You don't have my money, I said. Fury and Desperian fought on his face, like two cousins who had always agreed but suddenly didn't know how to stop fighting. You'll regret this, Orion, he warned. I'm already not regretting other things. This is just housekeeping, I said softly. I'll get a lawyer, he said, his voice like a threat. Please do, I said, and gently closed the door. I heard a frustrated, inarticulate sound, and then his footsteps storming away. I poured a whiskey but didn't drink it all. I added 9:04 p.m., doorstep demand, to my Tim Orion. Then I sent a quick text to the Lyra Venn, an attorney I trust. I wrote, heads up. He left. I ended the supplementary accounts. Expect noise. The Lyra replied in 2 short bubbles. Document. Offer supervised pickup for belongings. Change locks. Sleep. I changed the locks the next morning. It was simple, like wearing a seatbelt. Even if you are a good driver, sometimes other people do dangerous things. By Monday, Kalen had called my receptionist 3 times. Urgent, financial, he said. I said I was in a meeting. I added a small joke about doubling the holiday bonus. The group chat with our mutual friends lit up. Kalen had gone off script. Some said he was devastated. Some said he felt blindsided. I wrote the same sentence to all of them. Kalen chose to leave. I am respecting his request for no contact and adjusting finances accordingly. Then I muted the thread. Kalen's older sister, Soren, didn't mute the thread. She called me immediately, voice sharp. What on earth do you think you're doing to my brother? She demanded. You're starving him. You threw him out. He walked away, I said. He has his own money, his own car, and, based on last night, Zephyr for dinner. Zephyr is just a friend, she snapped. He needs his allowance. He's used to a certain standard. The standard I provided, I said, was because he was in a relationship with me. He chose to leave. He can try to take me for everything he wants. We are not married. The house is mine. The credit cards were mine. I checked with a lawyer. You're a monster, she hissed. I'm consistent, I said and hung up the phone. Venmo requests arrived within the hour. Emergency. $500. I need help. Declined. Declined again. A tearful voicemail followed. You're being cruel. I didn't delete it because I couldn't stand to hear it. I deleted it because I could. It was designed to trick me into confusing pity with duty. On Tuesday at 2:11 p.m., my Ring camera saw Kalen trying the front door. The new locks didn't care about history. Neither did I. That evening, I sent him one text through our messaging app. No flourishes. Just policy. You may schedule a supervised pickup for your belongings. A third-party mover is welcome. Thalira's paralegal will be present. Proposed times. I waited. No reply. At 9:37 p.m., a new message appeared from an unfamiliar number. V. Lior. Kalen needs his suits for meetings. We'll swing by tomorrow at noon. I added the screenshot to my Tim Orion and wrote in bold. Zephyr is back. I put my phone face down and looked around my quiet kitchen. The plant in the window that only I watered. The heavy skillet that would outlast most vows. The yellow note on the fridge with a recipe I wrote in a better mood. I waited for the tremor that used to live in my hands when things broke. It didn't come. I boiled water and made pasta the way I like it. Al dente, garlicky, simple. I ate it at the counter, lights low, door locked, my name on the deed. Sometimes the sound of peace is paperwork. Sometimes it is a saucepan. Sometimes it is a woman who says fine and means enough. By Wednesday morning, the phone had gone from a tool to a weapon. Missed calls, blocked numbers, weak apologies wrapped in accusations. Every alert was like a ghost at the window asking for entry. At 10:12 a.m., Thalira, my lawyer, called. He's testing boundaries, she said simply. You're doing fine. Keep everything in writing. When he asks for his things, give structure, not emotion. I smiled faintly. Structure I can do. Good, she said, because something tells me chaos is coming. She was right. At noon sharp, my doorbell chimed 3 times. When I looked at the camera, I had to laugh. There they were, Kalen, looking sad and thin from Feoryang, sorry for himself. His sister Soren, holding her phone like it was a sword. And of course, Zephyra Leor, his ex-girlfriend, who always looked fancy, even in the daytime. 3 people from my past mistakes were standing at my front door. I opened the door halfway. "You have 30 minutes, I said. "The Lyra's helper is inside. They'll check what you take while you pack." Soren started talking right away, her voice full of drama. "You changed the locks. He tried to come by yesterday and you locked him out of his own home." I corrected her. "My home. You won't find his name on the deed anywhere." Zephyra looked around, her eyes scanning the rooms like she was counting money. "Nice place," she said quietly. "I know," I said, pointing to the boxes I had already packed neatly by the door. "Clothes, shoes, and personal things are in the boxes. Everything else has to be discussed through lawyers." Kalen frowned. "You packed my studio stuff, like cables and small equipment." "Yes. The rest was rented under my name, so it's staying here." He took a deep breath, looking frustrated and shocked. "You can't just." "I can," I said, and I did. The helper, a calm woman wearing a gray jacket, cleared her throat. "Let's continue. Mr. Draxier, please sign next to each item as you take it." For the next half hour, I watched them move through my home like visitors in a fancy museum they couldn't afford. Kalen didn't look at me. Soren made little gasps whenever I corrected who owned something. Zephyra walked quietly like a cat, her eyes lingering on the paintings, the kitchen, and the quiet rooms. At one point, Zephyra stopped by the dining table where my laptop was closed. "He left his project files on here," she said smoothly. "No," I said. "He just used my laptop for convenience. His work is on his own drive." I had handed the drive to the helper 5 minutes earlier. Zephyra smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. "Always so organized," Kalen muttered. "We don't have to do this like enemies." "No," I said calmly. "We're not enemies. We're just done." He looked down. The silence between us felt heavier than all the boxes in the room. When they were done, Soren grabbed the inventory sheet from the helper and looked at it like she could see unfairness in the lines. "You're keeping the TV," she said. "I bought the TV," I said. "The couch too," she said. "That's small," I said. "Petty would have been changing the Wi-Fi password. This is fair." Zephyra finally stepped forward, holding an envelope. "We'll take this too," she said, pointing to a small safe on the side table. "It's his paperwork." I Draxiered my arms. "Open it." Kalen hesitated, then turned the dial. Inside were 2 old passports, a half-empty bottle of cologne, and a folded paper. I recognized the logo at the top immediately. "A lease agreement," I said softly. "A new address?" Zephyra asked casually. "Just helping him get settled," she added. I looked at the date. It was signed a week before he left me, with Zephyra's name on it too. It proved he had already planned to move out. I looked at Kalen. "You didn't even try to pretend for a full week, did you?" He tried to speak, but no words came out. The helper cleared her throat again. "Should I mark this as returned property?" "No," I said calmly. "Make a copy for the file. Lawyers will decide what it means." Soren scowled. "You're enjoying this?" "No," I said quietly. "But I am remembering it." When the last box was taken out, I stood by the door and watched them try to fit everything into Zephyra's shiny car. Kalen's duffel bag went in last, the same one he packed when he left. "You could have made this easier," he said, not looking at me. "I did," I said. "I let you walk away." He flinched. Zephyra closed the trunk. For a moment, she looked at me, trying to figure something out. I smiled a little, and she looked away first. When they drove off, Soren shouted from the window, her voice high and broken. "You'll regret this, Esorian." I didn't answer. The lock clicked behind me, like a full stop at the end of a sentence. 2 days later, rumors started. Friends sent careful messages. "He says you stole from him. He says you're mean. He says Zephyra was just helping him." I replied the same to everyone. "All property disputes are handled through lawyers. I wish him well." Then I muted the messages and ignored them. The next week, my HR manager asked me to come to her office. She was kind and gentle, which made it easier to listen. "Just so you know," she said softly, "someone has been calling and asking questions about your job. They want to know how much money you make. They are asking if you are still working here. And they are asking if our company has rules about behavior or morals." I stopped for a moment, realizing who it must be. "Kalen," I said. She nodded slowly. "We will block the number," she said. Outside her office, I took a deep, slow breath. I felt something I hadn't felt since the night he left. It was a clean, cold anger. Not the kind that shakes your hands or makes your stomach twist. This was calm and sharp like a knife that doesn't hurt you, but makes you alert. I felt ready. I felt in control. That evening, I sat with Delira at my dining table. We went through everything I had: papers, emails, texts, voicemails, screenshots, receipts, and small notes I had written to myself. Delira scrolled through the information and grinned. "You are a dream client," she said happily. "If he tries to push for anything, we can shut it down in a week." I looked at her, calm but firm. "Let him try," I said. She studied me for a moment and asked, "This isn't revenge, is it?" I shook my head. "No," I said. "It's a reset. He thought he could make himself the victim. I am going to rewrite the story." On Sunday morning, I went for a run. The first run in months where I didn't look at my phone once. The city smelled fresh, like rain and coffee. The sidewalks felt smooth and new beneath my shoes. The world felt different, like I had opened my eyes for the first time in a long while. When I got back, there was an email waiting for me. It was from Delira Venn. The subject said, "Notice of representation. Kalen Draxier. Esorion." I clicked it and read a letter from Kalen's lawyer. It said he was upset, claimed emotional distress, lost money, and that his reputation was hurt. My stomach twisted a little, but I expected this. I knew what they would say. Then I read Delira's reply. It was perfect. She wrote that I had acted fairly. She said all the money and gifts were mine or given with rules attached. She said I offered to give back his personal things carefully. She made it very clear that I would not talk to him directly anymore. All communication would go through lawyers. I laughed. I even added a new note to my Timorion. Day 26. Peace maintained. Entitlement escalated. The lawyer diffused. I poured myself a cup of tea and sat by the window. The sky was turning from gray to blue. This was what consequences looked like. Not fire or big drama. Not shouting or breaking things. Just the truth quietly settling into the right place. There was still a small part of me that missed the version of him who once cooked breakfast. The mornings that had felt steady and safe. But that part was quiet now, like soft background music that fades as you drive away. For the first time in weeks, I felt a kind of gratitude. Not for him, but for myself. Some people teach you love. Some people teach you boundaries. Some teach you both. And if you are lucky, you learn from them all. Peace comes back slowly. It does not scream. It creeps in like sunlight slipping under a curtain. The house stayed quiet after they left. For days I expected to hear echoes, maybe a slammed door, a cough, shoes in the hallway. But there was nothing. Only my own footsteps, steady and calm. Delira's letter must have scared them, because the silence lasted long enough for me to start trusting it. Then one night, near the end of the month, I got a text from Soren. It wasn't an apology. Of course it wasn't. She wrote, "You think you've won? Kalen can't even pay rent. I hope you are proud of yourself." I typed several replies and deleted each one. I tried to write something clever or angry, but nothing felt right. Finally, I settled on the truth. Kalen made choices. I made boundaries. Then I blocked her number. The next morning, Delira called. She was laughing. "You really shook them," she said. Kalen's lawyer just called to calm things down. They realized he doesn't have a case. "You owe him nothing." I thanked her and hung up. It really was that simple. The next few weeks were quiet and calm. I went to work, came home, and cooked what I wanted. Sometimes I would look at the second plate in the cupboard, the one he used to use. Just a habit, nothing more. The spaces he had filled didn't hurt anymore. They just existed, quiet and harmless. Then little whispers started. A friend sent me a screenshot of a post from Marilyn's Facebook. It showed a wine glass and said, "Some men can't handle being outshined, so they hurt the women who built them." A few people commented, some who knew both of us. I didn't answer. I just took a screenshot, added it to my Timorion, and kept scrolling. Lies only last for so long. Eventually, truth is enough punishment. 2 months after Kalen left, my realtor called me with exciting news. "We have an offer on your house," she said. "Above the asking price." "Sell it," I said immediately. It wasn't out of anger or revenge. It was survival. Every wall still smelled faintly of him. Every quiet room reminded me of arguments I hadn't realized I had been losing. By the end of the week, the movers came early on a Saturday morning. I packed my essentials, donated the rest, and by noon, the house was empty. Turning off the lights one last time, I felt a mix of grief and Aurorianef. It felt like closing a book that had been getting worse with every chapter, but that I had kept reading anyway, just to see how it ended. Outside, the air was sharp with spring. I didn't look back. My new apartment felt smaller, simpler, better. The neighbors were quiet. My mornings had a rhythm that didn't depend on anyone else. The world felt calm. One evening, while unpacking boxes, my phone buzzed. A new message request. The profile picture was Zephra Leor. Against my better judgment, I opened it. She wrote, "He told me everything. About how cold you were. About how you left him with nothing. About how you are telling lies." I exhaled slowly. I typed back only one sentence. "Check the date on your lease, Zephra." There was no reply. A week later, I got another message from an unknown number. It said simply, "You were right. She's done with me." No name. No signature. I didn't need one. I stared at the words for a long time and then deleted them. Some people never apologize. Some just run out of excuses. By summer, all the stories had stopped. Kalen had used up every favor he had left. Friends who once sympathized with him stopped taking his calls. Even Soren, his loyal sister, went quiet online. I heard through the grapevine that he sold his car and moved into a shared apartment. He started a part-time job at a department store, working at the cosmetics counter. Funny, because he always mocked ordinary work. Zephra had moved on too, a woman who loved ambition more than real love. I didn't celebrate any of this. I didn't need to. I had my own life again. In September, divorce papers arrived. We had never been married. There wasn't much to divide. Every asset was legally mine. The Lyra skimmed the papers, smiled, and said, "This is theater. Sign here. It's over." I signed. That night, I sat by my window with a glass of wine. The city lights stretched endlessly below me. For the first time in months, I looked at my reflection in the glass and saw someone I recognized. Peace doesn't announce itself. It just replaces noise. 2 weeks later, I met Orion. He worked in architecture, was quiet, thoughtful, and allergic to chaos. We met in a coffee shop because we both reached for the same book left on the communal shelf. He laughed. "You like essays on modern minimalism?" "I do," I said. We started seeing each other slowly, carefully. He never asked about Kalen. I never told. One night, walking home together, he said, "You seem like someone who had to rebuild from ashes. But ashes are proof of survival." I smiled. Maybe. Or maybe ashes are just what's left after you burn the wrong things. A month later, I was scrolling online and saw a familiar photo. Kalen and Zephra, arm in arm, raising champagne glasses. Caption: "New chapter, same dream." The timestamp was the night he left me. So that was the plan all along. The house, the space, the careful heartbreak. I didn't screenshot it. I didn't send it to the Lyra or anyone. I closed the app and let it go. Some receipts don't need to be kept when the debt has been paid. It has been nearly a year now. The apartment still smells faintly of coffee and fresh paint. Orion and I take morning walks before work. I started a small side business consulting for creative freelancers, the kind of people Kalen always said he wanted to be. I teach them about contracts, boundaries, and responsibility. Sometimes I tell them the truth. Independence without accountability is just entitlement in nicer clothes. When people ask if I regret how it ended, I say no. I only regret how long I let it go on. Closure is not something someone gives you. It's something you take back. In the end, the silence Kalen left behind was not empty. It was room to breathe. Space to live again. Peace had crept back in slowly, quietly, like sunlight under a curtain, and it stayed.